On behalf of the Legislative Women's Caucus, I rise in support of ACR 8. Dr. King's legacy is rooted in the fight of equality and the fight against injustice through nonviolence. Honoring his memory with this resolution during a time of such civil unrest is fitting. If Dr. King were here to witness the state of America today, I imagine he would note that while the flames of division are burning hot right now, they burn from the fuel of progress. The violence we witnessed against our brothers and sisters against democracy are the cries of a dying inequity. All of the violence and rage is like the shedding of a condition that our society can no longer bear. Dr. King would encourage us to seek justice and peace through nonviolence, education, and through the power of our fiercest weapon, the ballot. These last years have been some of the most divisive times in history. We have seen some of the worst in our society because we have allowed hate and fear and anger and ignorance to flow freely among us as division widened. Dr. King knew that we needed love and wisdom and compassion towards one another and a feeling of justice towards those who still suffer within our country. And as painful as it may be for some of us to acknowledge that tenet, when it is so easy to speak ill of someone who angers us, or ignore the opinions of those we disagree with because it's easy, we all know in our heart it's right. Love, wisdom, compassion, justice. Simple words to understand, but difficult to put into practice. I learned many of these lessons in church and at school, dealing with friends and being with family. My parents worked to instill these values in me, and I strive to do the same for my daughter every day. My mom showed me how to lead and work for the community, and doing so, she worked to bring about equality and a positive change. And I learned that's how we show our love and our compassion for our brothers and sisters. I believe in that mission so much that I followed in her footsteps, and I stand before you as an assembly member, just as she once did. And I beam with pride and honor at this distinction that we share in this chamber. But at the same time, I look at you all and I don't see a lot of people that look like me. We know the phrase representation matters, and I believe in it wholeheartedly. Seeing Kamala Harris, a biracial Californian native who looks like me, reach the White House as Vice President of the United States will forever be etched in my memory. I watched her ascend to heights previously unknown by women of color. I pray Isabella, my daughter, grows to see something like this, and it's not an exception. I am humbled by Dr. King's legacy and his vision for our nation, but I must acknowledge that being in this chamber where we do the people's work is a stark reminder that we still have a ways to go. We talk about inclusion and equity and equality and justice, and one way to fulfill those goals is to uplift women, people of color, and those in marginalized communities and others. I would love to see that representation here. Instead, I'm faced with dwindling numbers, as sadly soon I will be one of the few Black women in this assembly. But I'm not deterred, and I believe Dr. King's dream does continue. As we honor his memory today, let's find ways to make this building, our state, our nation, one of equity and justice for everyone. And let us remember, we now and have always been better together.